To a new episode of the New Standard. And as always, I have my partner in crime to my left. What's up, Big Neal? And happy birthday, sir.
Thank you, Lance. Yes, it is a glorious day for a variety of reasons, one of which being both Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, and myself have a birthday. I think he is probably ahead overall in life than myself, but I'm not going to complain. Very blessed, very fortunate, and very excited to be here. Steelers Bills coming up, Steelers Bucks behind us. There's a lot going on, Lance. We're at the heat of the preseason. Not long until the Steelers will kick off against the San Francisco 49ers to kick off the 2023 season in Pittsburgh. What both of us agree is going to be a big one. So, what are we not excited about today?
Birthday, cool. I like that. What's up, Kenny Love? And I was asked, what is the title of the program? How do you pronounce the word? And it's pronounced Juicivity. It's the combination of juice, electric, speed, explosion, quick twitch, and power. So it is a synonym of spark, RAS, anything else you want to say. But I coined the phrase juicivity. And what's up, Wes? Wes is chiming in. He's all warm and cuddly and fuzzy to start the day by saying Trubisky and Green should be cut. But we're not going to start there. We're going to start with some other very interesting information provided by JT O'Sullivan of the QB School. But before we jump into that in our news and notes, want to say that if you want to participate in the program, go to YouTube and do a search for the New Standard. Also, however you get your podcast, do a search for Steelers and the New Standard and link and subscribe. Real quick, Neal, JT O'Sullivan has a website called, our YouTube channel called the QB School. Very informative, where he does cut ups, he breaks cut ups down, and he breaks quarterback play down. So it's a very informative show. Former NFL player, and he recently did a video last week about Kenny Pickett. I think he was very complimentary of Kenny Pickett. Thought Kenny Pickett was progressing nicely. However, he didn't have kind things to say about Matt Canada. I'm going to read the quote, and I want to get your thoughts on what JT O'Sullivan said. And remember, it's your birthday. You can take the gloves off. That's right. Happy 18. So he wrote the following. So Hank and spacing to get us going. That's what we're doing. Hank and spacing are two concepts. I personally would struggle in an environment like this. Now, I'm sure Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada could care less what I would do, but even as a fan of football, let me just say there is so much better stuff than that. Those two concepts shouldn't even be in playbooks anymore. There's just so much better stuff, yet we still see it every year. But for this team, this organization, I think they do it more than others. It is two big middle fingers to the drop back passing evolution to what football is and what it should be now. It's pure comedy and pain at the same time. Those are pretty damning comments. Uh, I mean, I don't know how much worse you can rip Maple Matt than that, but what's your thoughts on JT O'Sullivan's comments about Matt Canada and the Steeler passing game and its concepts?
I'm impressed with his writing ability. That's pretty savage. He echoed a lot, I think, of what a lot of people say about Canada, and it's hard to defend it. What Canada is trying to do, you can't. In my opinion, and this has come up, Cam Hayward weighed in recently too, saying that what Matt Canada called in their preseason game was pretty vanilla. I think he's probably, we don't need to look to the preseason for play calling acumen. That's not really what it's about, unless you're John Harbaugh trying to win 24 consecutive preseason games. They're putting guys in situations. It's not really about ingenuity at that point. That said, Matt Canada absolutely is fair game as far as criticism goes up to this point. Now, I have said on the record many times, there's more to it than just the creativity of the play calling. It's not as simple as that. When you have a new offensive line that is struggling, learning a new technique under a new coach, you can't throw an Andy Reid level playbook with Patrick Mahomes under center at a team like that. Mitch Trubisky is tragically short of NFL talent at the quarterback position, starting quarterback position. Kenny Pickett was brand new when he came in. They had, as we've talked about, Lance, many times, perhaps the worst starting player in the NFL last season, Dan Less at left tackle. And it's not as if the line improved tremendously around him either. They made a lot of moves to address the offensive line this offseason. There's a reason for that. I'm not putting everything on Canada because I'm not sure Canada had a whole lot of a choice. You know, I've said this as well. I don't think Bill Walsh could have come in and gotten this team to 25 points a game last season. They probably could have done a better job than they did, but I don't feel right now. Now, ask me in a couple weeks where I am with it. I don't feel right now we can absolve him of the criticism, but I don't think it's over yet either. I think now he has a realistic opportunity to put an NFL-looking functional offense together because now they have talent to do that. They haven't really had that the last 2 years. Before a play was called, I would have told you the offense was going to struggle last season. I don't care who's calling them. They're not nearly as talented as fans want to think that they are. That said, I'm not letting them off the hook either. I'm just saying fairness and savagery. We need to kind of look at the whole picture here and not just simply like, all of these players are robots and they're otherwise equal except for the play that's called. That's just stupid. That's not how football is played. JT O'Sullivan makes a lot of good points. He knows far more about football than I do. I covered him back in the day. Incidentally, he was a Division II rock star when I was in college. That said, I don't think I think there's some puffery involved with what he said. It's not all of that. Talent is an issue. You know, talent has not been apparent within this offense the last couple of years. Just because George Pickens makes acrobatic catches doesn't mean he knows how to get himself open. He wasn't open consistently last season. Deontay Johnson struggled in many ways. Something else that they have to fix. Bad offensive line. They did not have a good running game for half the season. Two quarterbacks, neither of which you could honestly expect to come in and be the best quarterback on the field in any given week. All these things, I think, improved. So there is an opportunity for them to make hay with what they have at a better level. Let's see how the game is being called. Let's see what they're doing. And let's not just say the ball is only going to this portion of the field as if that's the exact play call every single time. There's a lot of that stuff that we don't know about. But I think I have a feeling they will be a bit more aggressive, not so much in play calling, but perhaps in the quarterback's decision of where to go with the ball. Guys making plays after the catch, open running lanes, things like that to provide more splash plays, which they haven't had. I don't think that's necessarily all on the play calling, but I'll call him out as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would encourage you guys take a look at the QB channel. It's pretty good. He does a very good job of breaking down stuff. And he took a look at a couple of rookie signal callers. He took a look at Bryce Young, Malik Willis, and some other guys. He was trying to be kind and talking about your fellow Bison, Trey Lance, but
Trey.
Yeah, it was pretty bad the way he ripped Trey.
Carson was bad. Trey's killing me now.
Yeah, let's jump into your thoughts about game one. I wanted to quickly give some PFF grades for the rookie class because I thought the rookie class flashed. I thought they acquitted themselves pretty well, particularly Nate Herbig. I think Keanu Benton played very well. And I thought Broderick Jones played pretty well. The grades for those players, starting with Jones, was 61.7. Benton was 74. Darnell Washington was 66.8, 67. Nick Herbig was 89, 90 in the green area, and Spencer Anderson was at a 56.7. The thing about it, take those with a grain of salt. All the players were at least in the yellow range, with Benton and Herbig standing out as two players in the green range. And I think in looking at the game and looking at those players in particular, in Benton and Herbig, they really flashed. They really look like they could be disruptive, and the Steelers look like they may have stumbled upon a couple of gems in this class along with the big names. What was your thoughts overall on the rookie class in this game?
I thought Nick Herbig is definitely the one that stands out the most, and not to downplay the excellent performance that he had, but I think he retired that right tackle. I mean, that dude had no business. You didn't have a prayer. And keep your Herbig. Herbig is not a big guy, as we saw on the field. He has that get off, which is definitely NFL caliber. If you get a quicker right tackle to cut off the angle that Herbig won literally on like 5 straight snaps at one point, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot. You can lock into him pretty good, move him around pretty good. He's not a starter, is what I'm saying. I believe they brought him in as a project. They're going to bulk him up. Hopefully he can earn a spot on special teams and make an impact there early in his career. But he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And you have to be happy for him for that. It was fun to watch. I know that. The one, I think the most impressed that I was as far as real football technique went was Keanu Benton. That dude, I tweeted this earlier today. That dude belongs. I mean, he's a starting caliber nose tackle right now. It would not surprise me if that's what the Steelers end up doing come week 1. There's a lot of guys I think that are going to play along that defensive line, but Benton, I don't think anybody was worried about a lack of experience with him, but the fact is he's still a rookie. He's playing against guys that are probably on his experience level. He whipped them bad. I mean, he really beat some guys badly. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with him. I think he might be the best one in this class for what they have, and that says a lot because this is a really, really good class. And you're right, we saw that quite a bit in preseason week 1.
And I was surprised by Brojo's pass protection. I thought he was solid for the most part throughout the game. I thought he had a
messed
couple of
up on one pretty
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. He had a bad snap. Yeah, he had a really ugly snap there. But I thought he acquitted himself very well, and you can see, his physical dimensions are just ridiculous. I mean, he could almost stand on his hands. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's a lot to like with him, but I'm not sure if it's there for him day. I'm 50-50 with Brojo. In all honesty, I think he might be their starter, and I think he might not be their starter. I could make arguments either way, so I'm not sure there's a mistake to make with that. He needs reps. He needs time. We saw that because if you watch, and I think everybody knows the play we're talking about, his technique on that fumble that he ended up recovering with, it was horrible. I mean, it was just like, whoa, mental lapse. He's not going to get away with that on Sundays. So you have to be worried about that. I know how crazy it is for me to say this. It might be worth going into the season with Dan Moore as your starter at left tackle because of that. But long term, there's a lot to like with Broderick Jones. They knew who he was when they drafted him. I said this on draft night. He's not a guy that you can expect to start day one. This isn't Tristan Wirfs, the all-pro left tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was drafted at 12 or 13, right in that range. It was obvious he was a day one starter. Wirfs had a lot more experience. He had a lot more now about him. Jones isn't now, but he's going to be very soon, and there's a lot to be excited about with him.
I think when they make that decision about him starting, and I want to get some more of your observations in general about the whole game, I think you got to look at the floor. What is the floor with the player? The ceiling, we know, is much higher than Dan Les. That's obvious. He's a first-round prospect with incredible physical dimensions and athleticism. So the ceiling is higher. It's where is the floor now for both players, and where do you want to start? Is the floor a lot lower for Brojo? Is it a lot lower for Les? It's just, where is that floor, and how much of your offense can you operate with that floor for that particular player? But overall, I want to get your overall thoughts of the game. What you think of the Steelers and their performance in week 1?
I loved it. I thought it was great. We saw a bit out of everybody I think that we would want to see from them. I saw big time plays. I mentioned Benton before. My guy Darnell Washington. I thought he availed himself pretty well blocking. Did a great job on one play that was highlighted. Caved in the right side or the offensive left side on a running play. He shows the functional strength. He shows the athleticism. You hope he can remain out there and contribute something to the team. Herbig is impossible to miss. I really think he was kind of the star of the game. Spencer Anderson, I think, is an interesting prospect considering they wanted to bring in a guard on a cheap contract to challenge Kevin Dotson's role on the team. And I think that's important. Dotson's in the final year of his contract. He's set to make $2.9 million. You signed the elder Herbig, Nate Herbig, to be your backup guard. In fact, as we've discussed here, I think they signed him to be their starter, thinking that they weren't going to be able to get a guy like Siamalu. Siamalu, whatever, found that the market wasn't to his liking, signed a deal with the Steelers. He's going to be the starter, but Herbig is a very valuable backup at two positions now. That doesn't leave you much value in keeping Dotson around at $2.9 million in the last year of his deal. You drafted a kid. Can he come in and serve as a an emergency reserve and special teams player at a much cheaper cost? Because he's not going to play any more than Dotson would. So to me, it's important to see him getting good reps, being worthy of taking up a spot, playing special teams, which I didn't really get a chance to look at a whole lot. But there's value in him as he'll continue to progress. Steelers have long since developed pretty quality interior offensive linemen from late rounds or undrafted free agency. I think Anderson's going to be in line with that. There's a lot to like with this class. There's a lot to like with it. And I think we saw every reason for us to enjoy it. And I really think, for me, I really think that's the story of the preseason for the Steelers. How are these rookies performing? We're not going to see a whole lot of key guys in key situations, but how are the reserve guys going to fare? Because that really, that this question was asked earlier, the biggest difference the last two seasons compared to this one is this team has depth. They've been adding depth. This is part of the sexy tanking thing, Lance, that we started this whole show with years ago. They've added quality young players at key positions, and they've hit pretty well the last couple drafts with solid players. Can that put them over the top? I don't know. It will, remains to be seen how everybody improves. But we have to like what we've seen from the younger, the rookies and the second-year players on this team.
And Claude Bishop, that's a great point. Claude wrote, and big up to Claude and big up to everybody out there that's participating in the program. Once again, you're listening to the New Standard on YouTube. Do a search and subscribe for us by using the New Standard. Please like and subscribe to the program. And Claude wrote, wearing sunglasses at camp on the field is a bad look.
I don't know, man. I can't see outside without sunglasses. Maybe he's like that as well. I mean, it's not the way he plays, but you need to have it to kind of see everything else that's going on.
Yeah,
I'm not getting after him for that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But when I watched the game, that's why I came up with the adjective juicivity. Again, juice and electric, speed, explosion, twitch, and power. And when I look at this team, it looked juicy. I thought there was a high level of juicivity when I looked at the game. Pickens, I think he demonstrated what he is, elite athletically. I mean, elite movement skills for a wide receiver at that size, and showed that he got some separation. Calvin Austin, the third, jumped off the screen. I mean, he's the living embodiment of juicivity. I mean, he's extremely twitchy. 2 receptions, 73 yards, looked explosive on the jet sweeps. Anthony McFarland, juicivity, great run on the outside to pop it outside, show his explosion. Another guy that showed up to me was our guy Taekwondo. Thought Taekwondo really showed up. His key and diagnose, he was very explosive, got to the ball. Nick Herbig, of course, and even Trent Thompson, I think, showed up in this game. And as you said, and as you see, when you look at this Steeler depth and you look at this class, this roster, I think, is jumping out that it looks considerably better. I think you saw that immediately in this game, hence Juicivity. That's why I was very excited when I looked at this game. And I looked at this game several times, and I keep seeing more and more encouraging things. And the most encouraging thing was the performance of Kenny Pickett. In terms of the three Ps, I thought Kenny looked very good in the pocket. I thought that he looked very poised. I thought that was a rope that he threw to Pickens. Great ball
It's
placement.
a great throw.
He looked pretty confident and poised. It looked like, if the season were 18 games, it was game 18. And that leads me into my next question for you, Neal. What are you looking for in game 2? And let me ask you, considering that it's only 3 preseason games now, are they going to do a little more game planning for this game 2? Is it going to be more of a trial run of week 1 where the coaches kind of get acclimated to some game planning? They put the team through some installations of some stuff that it looks kind of similar to a week 1, although not as comprehensive of a game plan as a week 1. What's your thoughts and what you're looking for on that question in week 2?
Yeah, I mean, as far as game planning goes, you're not gonna, sit and study film, which I think is really the key component to game planning. You're not preparing for your opponent as much as you're preparing to do the things that you do. It used to be a thing. It's not so much now, just the way the game is played today. You don't call blitzes or anything like that. You've got to do that kind of thing. You have less time to do it because some guys could, make a roster spot based on their ability to run certain blitz packages. So they'll do things that are a bit more aggressive, I'm sure. Maybe they play another series longer. The starters, the ones that you want to get some fluidity, some work with. Top to bottom, though, I don't think it's the real dress rehearsal cliche that people often attributed to the old preseason week 3 game. But I definitely think you want to give your starters or the bulk of your starters, perhaps not all of them, you want to give them a good long run to experience success and failure and going on and off the field. You have to get used to that. That's part of the conditioning element to the game as well. You have to get used to the flow of the game, making sure you're prepared for that. You have something for that. There's a good long time, though, between their third preseason game and the start of the regular season. So maybe they'll save a little bit more for that. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. It's what I would like to see from it. I don't have expectations of any kind. It's just more. I want to see the rookies play just because I want to get familiar with them.
Exactly.
And they're fun to watch. Hopefully Keanu Benton's a guy that can play a good solid first half of action. He might be my favorite so far. The king, in my opinion, Darnell Washington on the field with George Pickens would be a lot of fun just for me, just to kind of see what the two of them could do together. It's an exciting team to watch in a lot of ways. And I don't know if I've said that in the last 2 years, Herbig was a lot of fun to watch. I think I even said that at the time. Like, I don't even care about the Steelers offense anymore. Like, just punt. I want to see Herbig back out there. He's destroying this poor guy. That dude had no prayer of stopping him. And to be fair, in like a real game situation, they would have schemed something up. They put a tight end in front of Herbig. Don't let him just keep beating the tackle to death. Destroyed their entire offense. We all saw that. And it was fun to watch. Those kinds of things I enjoy in preseason. It's not, I don't need a full workup or anything. I'm not evaluating them. I want to see them go out and play.
It's pretty interesting. It's funny the comment that Tomlin had about Herbig. He was saying that, does anybody else have any little brothers that we can draft or that can play for us? That
strategy is working.
Yes, it is. Bloodlines are real. Here are a couple things that I'm looking for in a game. Before I go into that, I'm sorry that I waited this long to mention it, and I have it written on my notes. I want to send my thoughts and prayers and condolences to the family of Alex Collins, young man, running back for the Ravens, I believe, passed away this week at the early age of 28. That's devastating. I don't think there's been much information come out about what the cause of death was, but I want to send my thoughts and prayers and condolences to the family of Alex Collins.
It was a
Um,
motorcycle accident. He
uh,
tragically was killed in a motorcycle accident. Ravens and Seahawks running back, and a pretty good pro
that's
running back.
terrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
28
That's
years old.
terrible.
God.
That's terrible. Young man, young kid. I have cousins that age. But the three things I'm looking for in a game, I want to see Broderick Jones play again, and that echoes your thought and your points about seeing a rookie class. I want to see Joey Porter Jr. get on the field. I want to see Joey Porter Jr. play. Hopefully, he'll play. Any reports on why he didn't play? Was he
It's just an injury. I
okay?
heard hamstring. I heard ankle. They're keeping it hush hush because they don't really need to talk about it. So it sounds like he did practice on a limited basis recently. He's looking to get some time in against the Bills on Thursday, right? We have every reason to expect that that'll happen. And yeah, he needs some work. I know his legacy. I know who he is as a player. Um, of this class, he's the one that the first two who were drafted probably need the most long-term work to become the players that you hope they're going to be. So,
Right.
I didn't think Porter was going to start out of the gate unless Tomlin just said flat out, throw him out there and let's make him learn on the fly. I don't think he's ready for that, but he should field a good amount of snaps this season. This went into cornerback depth as well. I don't think that there's ever not a concern with cornerback depth. One cornerback goes down, it's almost like two of them. So, yes, there's definitely concerns with that. You hope that they can implement a new scheme, which we've talked about often. They lost their 7th round pick, our favorite player, Corey Trice. He's out for the season. I don't know if he was actually going to play or not, but you're stuck with Porter, you're stuck with Wallace and whatever else they want to throw out there for the guys that they have. I don't know how good that's going to be honest, but hopefully they are good enough at a certain scheme wrinkles that they're going to put in that they can be a bit more effective perhaps than they have been. I don't think they've been terrible, but they certainly haven't been great either.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I also want to see, and I'm hearing that the safeties that were acquired, KZ is back, and I'm hearing Neal practice this week. So I'm interested to see the big nickel package, the 3 safeties on the field, and see what that looks like. Let's jump into a couple of questions before we get out of here, Neal. Very rapid fire. First question from Claude Bishop. Should the Steelers have a battle for the number 2 quarterback? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah,
We've
no.
seen
Who
them.
matters? Yes.
Contracts matter. How about this? I'm not against weighing 2 options if the starter happens to go down. I'm not against taking a look at that, but Mitch Trubisky was extended. Mason Rudolph was brought back after he went through free agency at a minimum contract. Clearly, they don't see him that way, and the NFL doesn't either. I mean, they nobody else even tried to sign Rudolph, as far as I saw. Mason Rudolph is going to challenge Landry Jones in terms of career preseason superiority in the Steelers' record books. Okay, we've seen everything Mason Rudolph can do. We know he's not phased when he goes out there, but he's playing with a bunch of third stringers. He should look pretty damn good, and whether he does or he doesn't, we've seen Mason Rudolph. I'm sorry, it's over. That's his role. The biggest reason
Mason.
he's on the team, reason he is on the team is because they can dress 3 quarterbacks with only 2 of them counting to the roster. And you saw Tanner Morgan. Okay, that's what the options look like behind Rudolph. So put him on the team. That's fine.
Yeah, that's probably the battle. The SS Mason has set sail a few years ago. Let's jump into another question real quick here before we get out of here. Let me ask you real quick, because Claude also asked, is a hot dog a sandwich? I say yes.
I think a hot dog's a hot dog. It can be its own thing. Usually when you have something that's so polarizing that we can't decide what are the alternatives. If it's not a sandwich, what is it? It's a hot dog.
It's a hero. A hero.
I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's a sandwich, a hot dog sandwich. How about that? We'll put the 2 together.
Sure.
Quick
Sure.
question up here from Robert Cotting: is Gunner making a team?
God, I hope not. Um, no, Gunner. Maybe, maybe not. He's not going to play a pivotal role. I know that, and a lot of times that's going to come down to contract. Do they want the veteran presence in there for the sake of bolstering the slot? Is that the position they want Calvin Austin playing? Is thanks to my cohort Luke for bringing up probably the most electric play of the game that we somehow didn't discuss at all. They played Austin in the slot. They played him on the outside. I've talked about this a bunch of times. He did not play in the slot in college. Okay, he played on the outside. You can't just jump to the slot. It's a completely different position. If they feel he's far enough along in the slot, I'd imagine they'd cut Gunner. That's I think logical to suggest that, but I'm not sure Austin's. I'm not sure the specific aim for him long term is going to be in the slot. I think he's a Z receiver, and that's what he's played before. And the play he made was on the outside. Now, granted, Luke can speak more in depth into the current career viability of the cornerback that he beat, but he was less than a man on that snap. Austin blew past him like he was stopped. I mean, that was wow. That was fun.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah, and it was fun hearing Rondé kind of rip the corner. It was pretty funny. But with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude the show. And to answer this last question, I'll just answer this. Claude asked again: does every rookie drafted this year make the 53? Yes, I think so. Possibly the only one in question might be Spencer Anderson, who we talked about a little bit earlier. He could be a guy that possibly doesn't make it, but I think that all the rookies will make it this year.
Yeah, I don't to cut Anderson. I think is to keep Dotson. I don't see why a team would want to spend 2.9 million on a fourth option between two guard positions when you can get a guy that won't play at 25% of the price. That's just me.
Yeah,
It's not my money, but
yeah,
I logically speaking, I could see that going either way.
yeah, that's smart money. Your point that you made there, and again, excited for game two, and we'll be back with you again next week, next Wednesday, same time, same bat channel to break down the second preseason game. Hopefully, the Steelers will play as well as they did in the first. Again, preseason is not results based, but you just want to see the progression and growth of players on your roster and see how they mature week to week. But with that, we're going to conclude the show. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Please like and subscribe. Again, happy birthday to my partner in crime, Big Neal. Happy 18th birthday. Big up to you, Neal.
Oh
And with
yeah.
that, we're going to conclude the show. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.